Hello, beautiful ladies. I'm Mariquita Solis here with Bruce Muzik. I'm so excited today. Bruce is just a whiz in the relationship field. He's founded Love at First Bite. He's a TED Talk speaker, and I'm so honored that he's here today with us. And I want Bruce to tell these ladies a little bit about who you are. And ladies, if you're watching, please give StreamYard your permission to use your name. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And Bruce, let the ladies know a little bit about you, please.
Sure. Hi, everybody who's watching and tuning in live. So I'm Bruce Muzik. I help couples turn their struggling relationships around. And I kind of have a reputation for being the guy that couples therapists send their toughest clients to. And I got interested in relationships I've been interested in relationships my whole life, but I'd never really learned about what makes a successful one until about 15 years ago when I got divorced and my next relationship failed. And I came to the humbling conclusion that the common denominator in all of my relationships was me. And that I needed to learn about what makes healthy, happy relationships. And I started reading and I started devouring whatever information I could find. I even went and got trained as a relationship coach twice, never ever intending to work with couples. I was just curious and I wanted to learn. And as I was learning, I was struck by the same thought over and over again, which was, why were we not taught this at school? Had I known this years ago, I could have saved myself so many years of heartbreak. And like I do with any topic I'm passionate about, I started sharing what I was learning with my friends. And after about my third friend came back to me and said, Bruce, that thing you told me to do last night, I went and I did it. And it shifted something in our marriage. Like, things are really going better. You should consider doing this as a career. I eventually shut down my successful international motivational speaking business and went back to school and got trained to work with couples and started eventually Love at First Fight. And now I have a global business helping several thousand couples every year in my group training programs move from being unhappy, fighting, having conflict in their relationship, feeling disconnected, feeling unsafe, feeling alone, repeating old patterns of conflict over and over and over, to feeling like a team together, to feeling like they are partners with a common vision, a common goal. They've gotten through the largest chunk of their conflict and they've come out the other side feeling safely connected and enjoying their marriage or relationship. So that's what I'm passionate about doing. And I imagine today I'm going to be sharing as much kind of the pearls of wisdom that I possibly can in an hour that I've learned over my 15 years of doing this.
Wow, that's very exciting and it's inspirational. I love that path that you had of looking inside yourself, seeing that you were the common denominator. That takes a lot of courage. So that's a beautiful story, a beautiful way of seeing from a new perspective. So thank you.
And if it's even vaguely relevant, which it isn't to my job, but I'm now happily married and have two amazing stepkids and love my marriage. It turned out very differently this time around, having the skills and knowing how to go into the relationship and not make the same mistakes again.
Yes, I mean, with age comes wisdom. That's beautiful. I love that, and when you're willing to look at yourself and really be authentic in the process. Yeah, so I want to hear more about that. But first, I'd just like to kind of start with a centering meditation. And I see that some ladies are on here, so thanks for watching. I can't see who you are, so if you can give StreamYard permission to use your name, that way I'll see. But thanks for watching. And so I just want to take a minute, if we can get into a quiet space and close our eyes and just get back into this quietness. Just taking a moment. I know a lot of us are rushing around. So taking a deep breath in and closing your eyes if you feel like it. Breathing in to your hips, down into your legs, down into the soles of your feet, and connecting with that divine wisdom in this learning experience. in this transformational process of growth and opening up to the new possibilities that are going to be shared here, the wisdom, listening to your heart, and stepping into courage as we learn new lessons today, and giving thanks for this guidance, just getting in tune with all the living beings, all of nature, the wisdom of the majestic trees, of the rivers, the oceans, and the light-filled spirit that is among us. Just tuning into the wisdom of this beautiful energy that's supporting us in every moment of life, and knowing that we are being supported fully and guided in this universe and the intelligence of life, and just letting it be and saying yes, and so it is, and so it shall be. So just taking a deep breath and opening your eyes whenever you're ready, saying thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's get started.
All right, let's do it.
So well, let me ask you, I know I do have some questions. One of the questions is, I have a lot of young ladies on here that really want a commitment, and whether they're in the beginning of a relationship or in a long-term relationship, and they're struggling with getting commitment, and wondering if they should ask for like ultimatums, or what do I need to do if I feel like I'm not getting the commitment I need. What would you speak to on that?
This is a wonderful question, and I think is an issue that comes up regularly with people who feel insecure in their relationships, who don't feel like they're comfortable depending on others, or who have had a historical background of perhaps being afraid of abandonment or being afraid of rejection. And if anybody's ever called you needy or clingy, then you definitely fall into this category of wanting to commit perhaps prematurely. And the way I see commitment is a gradual process that is earned. You can't force commitment. You can't try and make it happen. It happens, or it doesn't. And if it doesn't happen, if commitment doesn't happen, or if commitment happens on one side and not the other, it's usually for one of two possible reasons. One, the other person doesn't feel safely connected enough yet to be able to make that kind of choice. Or two, the other person has never felt safely connected to anybody to make that kind of choice. So there are people out there who just are not ready for commitment. Their idea of relationship is not partnership. It's, hey, let's be friends and have a good time together and enjoy ourselves together. That's maybe as far as they ever want to go. And then the other person's idea of commitment is, hey, let's merge together and become a team and share our lives together. That's a very different idea of commitment. Yes, both of these people will use the word commitment to describe the same thing. And the person who wants to merge their lives together with the person who just wants to kind of have a good time, you're going to both think that you want commitment, but you're on completely different pages. So the other time, and maybe this would be number three then, the third time, the other time when commitment battles to happen naturally is when one partner is trying to push it, when they're so insecure that they want commitment early, not because they care about having a committed relationship with this person, but because they want to reduce the anxiety of not having commitment and reduce the fear of being abandoned. And so then commitment becomes a way that they soothe themselves and soothe their anxiety. Their partner feels this and resists committing, because their partner gets the sense that you don't really want to commit to me for me. You're just feeling so anxious because I won't commit that you want to commit just so that you can feel safe again. So let me tell you this, commitment does not guarantee safety. It doesn't guarantee the continuation of the relationship. It doesn't guarantee anything. It's just a promise. And like any promise, promises can be broken. Marriage doesn't guarantee anything. Divorces happen all day long, right? So the way I see the process of commitment being earned is that in an idealized situation, and I will admit this is just a fantasy idealized situation. This is not how it's going to probably go in reality for anybody. But in an idealized situation, this is how I see it would work. You would meet somebody, and you might be dating multiple people until you find someone that you really feel might have potential. And the first step of commitment is, after having dated this person for a month, perhaps you say to them, you know what, I'd like to date you exclusively. I'm going to stop seeing those other men or women that I've been seeing, and I'd like to date you exclusively. That's micro commitment number one, seeing each other exclusively. Then, at some point along the way, anywhere between the 2-month and the 6-month mark, you guys are going to enter what's known as the power struggle stage. The first stage is the romance stage, which is the one everyone loves, and that's when you're literally high on drugs. Your brain is pumping out serotonin, oxytocin, vasopressin, dopamine, all these lovely chemicals that make you see each other through rose-tinted glasses, and all you can see are your partner's best side. That's all you can see is their best side. All you show them is your best side. And you haven't really got to know each other at all. You think you're in love, but you're not. You're in the most immature form of love. You're essentially in lust. And the chemicals are what are bonding you together, and your relationship hasn't earned the right to anything yet. But you're being bonded, and the process of the romance stage is to bond. At some point, you hit the power struggle stage, and you wake up in the morning, and you look at this person next to you, and you go, oh my God, what have I done? Who am I with? Like, I don't even know if I like you anymore or know you. And that's when the conflict begins and you begin fighting. Hence, I named my company Love at First Fight. And this is where your relationship is earned. And the next bit of commitment is committing to working through conflict together and figuring out whether or not you can make it to the other side. And assuming you make it to the other side of some conflicts, the next commitment might be moving in together. And ideally, on my idealized timeline, that would happen perhaps somewhere between year 1 and year 2. You move in together and you say, okay, let's see what it's like. Can we live together? Let's test our relationship further. Then the next commitment might be, okay, we're doing well. And maybe around about year 3 or year 4, we decide, let's get engaged. And let's see how it feels knowing that we're going to be spending the rest of our lives together. And you spend 6 months to a year being engaged, getting through more conflict that comes up. Because the minute you perceive permanence to your relationship is the minute the next conflict arrives. So there are some researchers that state that the power struggle stage begins the minute one or both of you perceive permanence. So moving in together, getting committed to being married, it'll be different for every couple. And you want to see what happens as you take more and more steps. And then hopefully that all works out. You get to resolve more conflict, and you get to the point where you can both be an individual, be yourself, and you can come together in partnership and have a team. So you can maintain your autonomy and your sense of self, and you've also built the sense that we're partners on the same team, and you can maintain that sense of being a team, and you can have both. This is known as interdependence. You can be an individual and you can be in partnership. You have your own separate lives from each other, and you have your own joint life. And then you get married, and maybe the next step of commitment is starting a family. And maybe around about year 4 or 5, you start a family. That's my hypothetical idealized timeline. Now, I understand that in reality, that's far too slow for some people who are insecurely attached and who desperately want commitment. For example, I have friends of mine who got engaged after 2 weeks after meeting each other. They are two of the most insecurely attached people I know, and their power struggle stage was a mess. Because they had committed way too early before they even knew who they were. In their 3rd month together, they discovered that she was pregnant. And so they got married immediately. And by month 4, they were married. They'd only known each other 4 months. You can imagine hell rained down on them as they discovered, when the drugs wore off and permanence arrived, that the person they had just married was nowhere near the person they had fallen in love with, because for the first time in the power struggle stage, you start to see your partner's dark side, their bad traits. They start to see your dark side and your bad traits. And yes, you have them, as we all do. And suddenly you wake up and go, but this wasn't what I signed up for. I thought you were like this and like this and like this, but now it seems like you're not. You betrayed me. You pulled the wool over my eyes. I want my money back. And so the conflict begins. And I think the challenge is, when you get married and you commit too early and you have children too early, suddenly you're responsible for a child. It's hard to get divorced. It's a lot harder. And you wake up and you haven't earned the right to be married. You haven't earned the right to have a child. Your relationship hasn't stood the test of time, hasn't been challenged. It's just been a free ride that was due to the drugs that you were both high on. And you committed to each other as you were, literally zonked out of your minds. So my advice is, take your time, and I wouldn't even be thinking of getting married or getting engaged before year 3, because you don't know each other and you haven't resolved any of your conflict. So I could talk for probably another half an hour on this topic, but I'm sure you have other more interesting topics you want to talk about too. But the more insecure you are, the more you want commitment, the more I would invite you to question, why do you so desperately need commitment? Why can't you just chill out here for a while in this relationship for a couple of years and see where it goes? The only time I would say, run is when the person that you're with has never committed to a relationship before and is showing signs that they're not somebody who wants commitment. And then you need to ask the question, like, what is your idea of a committed relationship? And is it partnership? Is it merging together as a team and, building a great life together? Or is it just being, fuck buddies on the weekend and having a good time, or hanging out and sharing fun together? And both are valid. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but if you don't get very clear on what you're looking for and what they're looking for, you will assume they see commitment the same way you do, and that is a rocky road to go down, because you'll end up disappointed when eventually you discover that they say to you, but I told you all along, I just wanted to have a good time, I didn't want anything too serious. And you were like, no, I'll change him, or I'll change her. I know, once they fall in love with me, once they've discovered my magical body in bed, they're going to want to spend the rest of their life with me. But they probably told you early on. Anyway.
That's true. A lot of times we just keep our ears closed, and we don't have clarity about what we want. And so then we just are like in this muddled thing that you're saying. And that's so funny that you said about the dating long term, because I'm now in a 4-year relationship. And I see, after 4 years, we're still working on, how to handle and how to manage conflict. We're still building on that every day. So I do feel like there's no rush. Let's keep building our skills until we both are, really elevated in a different place, and then we have plenty of time.
Exactly. If you feel you need to rush, there's something wrong. Life is short, yes, but it's not so short that you can't take your time to get to know each other. And almost always, relationships that commit too early implode. They don't last.
Yeah, and that's what I did for so many years. Rush. And you're right, exactly. Because of insecurity, I wanted to latch on. I wanted to feel like, okay, now I've got him. Now I can breathe. But
Me too.
That was so incorrect. So, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I've made some embarrassing mistakes in my past.
Yeah, I have too. Being like a stalker in college, driving around, and then they saw me stalking them. Yeah. But anyway, those days are
when I was 18, I dragged my girlfriend down to a lake in a beautiful area and proposed to her right there and then, and wanted to have our own romantic ceremony and actually kind of marry ourselves right there and then, not realizing that I didn't love this woman. I just was so scared. I wanted to be committed. And if she had married me there and then, and we'd done our own little spiritual ceremony, I thought that would make me feel safe. What it did was it put so much pressure on her that the next week she broke up with me.
Oh my gosh, yes. Take a chill pill. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, let's see. We got some comments here. I see Karen Forch is here and someone saying commitment earned. Cool. Welcome, Karen. I should have said that. Commitment has to be earned, power struggle stage. And then divorced twice. How can a relationship work? Is it just the self work I do?
I didn't hear your question. Say it again. How can a relationship work if?
Divorced twice. How can a relationship work? Is it just the self work I do?
No, it's not the self-work on you. That's only half of the equation. Well, I'd say it's a third of the equation. 1/3 of the equation is you doing your self-work. The second third of the equation is your partner doing their self-work. And the third part of the equation is the two of you working together to work on the relationship, to build the relationship. And the way I relate to relationships is that they're like babies. You give birth to them. And then they require a hang of a lot of nurturance in the beginning to ensure that they don't die. And so both of you need to co-parent your relationship so that it has a life of its own. It has its own flavors. It has its own preferences. The relationship's completely different from either of you individually. And you gave birth to it. And if one person says that the relationship isn't working for them, then your relationship has a problem. One of the big, I guess, mistakes I hear people making is their partner says, we need to work on the relationship because I'm not happy. And the other one says, well, you should work on yourself and learn how to be happy. No. If your partner's not happy, that means you have a problem because you and your partner are joined at the hip in the relationship. And that's part of what comes with being in partnership, is that both of you can influence each other. You become interdependent. And what that means is you're dependent on each other. And if you're in a happy, healthy relationship, that dependence makes both of you more capable, more flexible, more powerful, and happier in the world. If you're in a struggling relationship, that dependence makes you less capable, less flexible, less happy in the world. But the good news is that something can be done about it, because in my opinion, probably 8 out of 10 of my clients who come to me don't need therapy. They need education. It's kind of like learning. Can you imagine if you're as old as I am, then you learned how to drive a car with a stick, right? You learned how to shift with a clutch and a stick. Imagine getting into a car for the first time and not having any idea what any of the controls did, and being told, figure out how to drive. The system of a car is so complex. I remember trying to learn how to balance the clutch pedal and the accelerator pedal and pull off. That took me a couple of weeks to get that smooth with an instructor showing me along the way. I would never have figured out that you need to push the clutch in first, change the car into gear, then give it a little bit of gas, then let the clutch out slowly in order to pull off. I would have broken the gearbox or crashed the car long before. But yet people who don't know how to drive don't go to therapy. We don't tell them you need therapy. Now consider that a relationship is 100 times more complex than driving a car. And yet we get no instruction on how to do it. We don't have to have a license, and we get no instruction on how to operate this complex system. Is it any wonder we fall flat on our face and, crash and burn over and over and over again? And then we go, there's something wrong with me. I need to do some work on myself. Or there's something wrong with my partner. They need to work on themselves. That's probably more common. That may be the case if you've had some serious trauma in your past and you've had some childhood wounds that you need to heal that haven't been healed, and they're coming up constantly in your life, which many of us do. And for the vast majority of people, they can turn their relationships around with education. They just need the driving instructor to say, okay, this is how relationships work. This is how your partner works. This is how you work. And this is how you come together and work together as a team. And I think a lot of the work that I do is just education. And I'm sharing that because I want everybody watching this to remember that you are not broken if your relationships are struggling. You've probably just never been educated in how to have a happy, healthy, romantic relationship. And that isn't your fault either, because nobody taught you at school. And most of the cutting edge research around relationships has only happened in the last 15 years. So this stuff is new. It's not even common knowledge, and your therapist probably doesn't even know about this stuff. But don't get me started on therapy. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah. So, what about? This is really good wisdom you're sharing, by the way.
Thank you.
What about? I have a lot of ladies that there's a lot of people that are suspecting infidelity and they don't know what to do about it. They're scared. They're scared to bring up the topic of just thinking that someone's cheating. They're scared that they're going to be left, and broaching these sensitive subjects with their partners. And if you're feeling like you're being cheated on and the partner is saying that they're not cheating, what would you suggest there? But you're still feeling like you're being cheated on. And I know a lot of people are just like, should I go through the phone? Should I do this? Or what would you say to that?
I would trust your partner and leave them the hell alone. Because if they are cheating on you, you're going to find out eventually, and you will know. If they're not cheating on you, you're going to cause the end of your relationship by interrogating them, by going through their phone, So the question you have to ask yourself is, do I have a history of feeling insecure in relationships? Is it the first time I've been afraid I'm being cheated on? Have I been cheated on in the past? And if I have, am I maybe hypersensitive to being cheated on now? How much of this is me just being afraid? And how much of this is my partner actually displaying unsafe behavior that terrifies me and flat out, denying it, but not able to look me in the eyes? You need to determine that for yourself. But my default advice would be trust them. When your partner says they're not cheating on you, trust them. That doesn't mean they're not cheating on you, but it does mean that you give them the benefit of the doubt because they're your partner. And if they are cheating on you, you will find out shortly enough. They'll slip up eventually. If you suspect because you've had friends tell you that your friends saw them out with another man or another woman, and they were having a romantic dinner, then okay, now you have some grounds to go to them and have a conversation. And based on that conversation, you will decide what to do next. So how do you have the conversation? You have to be vulnerable. The mistake most people make is they go in guns blazing, sharing their fear as an accusation and as truth. I know you're cheating on me. What do you think that's going to do? That's going to have the partner defend themselves, which will then invite this attack, defend dance. And if they don't defend themselves, they'll end up attacking, and a fight will explode, and they'll be like, why don't you trust me? And if they're innocent, you will do a lot of damage to your credibility, the amount of respect you have in the relationship. If you are vulnerable, it would sound something like this. Hey, honey, I noticed you were on your phone all night last night for like an hour or two, and I started feeling really insecure and anxious that maybe you were chatting to somebody else, and you were maybe, my mind started playing tricks on me, and that maybe you were even cheating on me. I'm sure you're not cheating on me, but could you just reassure me that you're not cheating on me and you love me? And somebody who's not cheating will go, of course, my love. I love you. If I wanted to be with somebody else, I'd be with that person. Like, I love you and I'm with you. I'm not cheating on you. We're good. But if they, suddenly kind of get defensive and argumentative, it's often a sign that they're hiding something. And not always, and you can't read people that simply, but if they start to show behavior that's where they're avoiding the question, you probably have grounds to dig a little deeper. But you've got to go there owning that you're feeling insecure, you're feeling anxious, and ask them to help you. Please, will you help me feel safe? Could you reassure me that we're good, that nothing else is going on? And then trust them. That's the best thing you can do. Trust them. And you'll see what happens, because eventually, you'll notice. And then if they're going, let's say, for example, you're insecure because they went out with a work colleague who happened to be of the opposite sex. Ask them, say, hey, hon, can you help me understand who this person is so that I can feel safer about it, because I'm feeling a little insecure. Nothing to do with what you're doing. Like, you can go out with whoever you want to go out with because I trust you, and I'm the one who's feeling insecure right now. I just wonder if you could help me feel safe by explaining who this person is. And that way, you're taking responsibility, not trying to change your partner. They don't feel controlled. They don't feel disrespected. They don't feel like you're not trusting them. You're taking complete ownership for your anxiety. Now, it may be true that your anxiety has legitimate reason to be there and that they are cheating. And again, you're just going to have to trust that that will come out in the wash. And if this goes on for a long time and you're convinced that this is not your own insecurity, that there is legs to it, then, you know, by all means, if you need to, hire a private detective and get them to follow them around. If it's a matter of, you know, my life's at stake here, we're about to get married, I don't know if I can trust this person, and I know it's not me anymore, and my friends are telling me, be careful, this person has a history, and be careful, I've seen them out with multiple other people of the opposite sex looking in compromising situations. Listen to that, and go and do something about it. But if you're wrong, and your partner finds out you hired a private detective behind their back, you're going to have some serious backpedaling to do and explaining to do.
Yeah, so I've had that happen too. I mean, where there wasn't that trust, where I was being accused of, I had a boyfriend a long time ago that always was suspicious of me. And that really broke the trust I had in him in our relationship. Me trusting him, you know, to believe in me, that brought the relationship down.
But a great partner, somebody who's trustworthy, when you go to them and say, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling insecure, it's me, not you, please can you give me some reassurance, they will jump to help you. They'll be like, baby, my sweetheart, I'm right here for you. Like, you have nothing to worry about. Like, I am so happy in this relationship. You know, we're good. Don't you worry about a thing. And you'll feel reassured.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to go in with your vulnerability and taking responsibility for your feelings. So that's beautiful when you're honest about your feelings, and it's not the attack, then it's a different whole presence, a different energy.
Yeah, so, exactly.
So I have a lot of women that feel like they're too old to be in a relationship, that it's like I'm in my 40s or 50s and there's no hope for me now. That and then men want younger women, or they're not going to understand, maybe I'm too fat, maybe you know, I'm just not like I used to be, I have some health issues, and I don't think there's anyone out there for me. What would you say to that?
I'd say, how's that story working out for you? You know, because it's probably not. And it's just a story. And the more you believe that story, the more you'll see evidence to support that it's true, and your confirmation bias will kick in. Look, everybody loves looking at young, beautiful people. Everybody loves looking at young, beautiful people are young and beautiful. I know for me, if I ever ended up single again, I could never date anybody under 40, just because they're not mature enough to be able to be with a person of my age. I wouldn't want to go. I would appreciate their beautiful looks. I'd be, wow, that's amazing. You're young and beautiful. Good for you. I was young and beautiful once. I remember that. And I'm choosing a partner because I want a partner. I want somebody who is great partner material, somebody who makes me feel better for being with them than being without them, somebody who accepts and loves me for who I am and who likes me for who I am. And that's why I married my wife, because she loves me. She knows my worst side, she knows my best side, and she loves both. And she accepts both. And she's never tried to change me. She's never tried to stop me doing what I was doing before I met her. She's never tried to do anything that would change who I am, because she loves me the way that I am. That person is the person I want to be with. Would she ever be an international supermodel? No. Do I care? No. I'm with her for her. And the kind of man that you want to attract is going to see you for who you are only if, A, you can see you for who you are and see your own beauty, and B, you can see who they are and see their beauty. And the work starts here on yourself, seeing your own beauty, seeing your own worth, and believing you're worth something. Because right now, if you're telling yourself the story, there are no good men for me, and they're not going to want me, they're going to go for somebody younger, I'm telling you, you don't know your own worth. And you haven't learned to accept yourself just the way that you are. So you're not putting your best self out in the world. You're putting an insecure version of yourself out in the world, which will repulse somebody who's secure and is looking for somebody secure. So you attract people who see you the way you see yourself very often. Not always, but very often. And the minute you begin shifting the way you see yourself, and this is a journey, my wife laughs at me because I even did this today. One of the ways I helped myself shift my self-esteem, you'd never guess it, but when I was a teenager, I was a geeky, skinny nerd with John Lennon glasses that were like this thick, like literally, it was like, Gorilla Glass. I was so blind. I had laser surgery later on in life. And I was scrawny and nobody was interested in dating me at the time. And I was so insecure. My self-esteem was in the drain and I never thought anybody attractive would ever want to date me. I was lucky kind of in my late 30s. I matured late, blossomed a little bit later. But what I started doing, I started looking in the mirror and I started looking for where I was beautiful. And I'd say to myself, damn, Bruce, you're fine. Damn, you're good looking. And every day, once a day, when I went to the mirror to get dressed in the morning, I'd look at myself in the mirror, I'd go, damn, you're good looking. And I started to believe, took about a year, but then I started to believe that I was a good looking human being. I was the same looking person I'd looked like, a year ago, the geeky, skinny nerd. But I started to believe. I started taking my shirt off on the beach. I'd never done that before. I started going to the gym and working out and looking after my body while every day going, damn, you're good looking. And a year later, I believed I was good looking. So I started holding myself differently. Instead of having these kind of hunched, insecure looking shoulders and the kind of looking down, I was suddenly standing tall with, my head upright and my shoulders back, walking tall. And suddenly I was getting a whole lot of attention that I never got before. And it had nothing to do with my looks. It had to do with how I perceived myself.
That's amazing. And that's so powerful. And it does take a little time to reprogram your brain. And then your brain starts to look for that. When you say it, your brain's like, okay, let me prove it. Let me prove it. Like the story you're telling. You're proving that story. So what's the story going to be? Something that empowers you or something that holds you back? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So cool. So I had a question that I was going to ask you. Now I just lost it. But, it was about, a lot of times when we're going on the dates in the beginning and we're presenting ourselves. I mean, you're talking, I was watching your TED Talk about really knowing yourself and presenting that authentic self. Because if you're not doing that, then you're attracting, how is that? What are you, let's say I'm attracting cheaters or I'm attracting narcissists every time. What's causing that? What can you do to shift yourself to change attracting these cheaters or these narcissists every time?
Okay, well, I have a lot to say about that. It's two questions. So if you keep attracting and co-creating the same relational dynamic, I'm not going to say attracting cheaters. I'm going to say if you keep co-creating a relationship where you're cheated on, and that's a historical pattern for you, then to some degree that feels familiar. So we tend to repeat patterns in our romantic relationships as adults that create a similar experience to the experience we had with our parents as children. So if your dad abandoned you and was the quiet, stoic type who never spoke about his feelings, that is coded in your brain as what love feels like. Okay, that experience of being cut off, separated, and then abandoned, that first experience of love where you're bonding with your dad, that experience is likely what your brain is coded to look for when it's unconsciously selecting a partner. It unconsciously selects someone not like your dad, but someone who will recreate a similar experience to the experience you had with your dad, the experience of being cut off and abandoned. And so, or if your dad betrayed you, for example, like, I mean, the most obvious example, and it's a horrible example, but it's the most obvious one, is survivors of sexual abuse. It's a common fact that survivors of sexual abuse often end up being abused again in future relationships. How does that happen? If they were sexually abused as children by a family member, somebody they trusted, and especially if that family member was a dad, they will, I'm talking about young girls here, they will tend to attract a similar experience later on. It might not be sexual abuse, it might be some other kind of abuse, but they'll attract the kind of person who will give them a similar experience until they become conscious of their pattern. They start to take ownership on it. Instead of pointing fingers and calling their partners narcissists, which is the most common thing I hear. I keep attracting narcissists. No, you don't. These people are not narcissists, and we'll get there in a second. I'm actually about to do a rant video on my YouTube channel about your partner is not a narcissist, because it's the most common question I get asked. My partner's a narcissist. How do I have a happy relationship? I'm like, no, your partner's not a narcissist. The percentage of people in the world that are actually narcissists is so small that the odds of your partner being a narcissist are highly slim. Have you ever been sick and then you went onto webmd.com and you typed in your symptoms into the search engine there? If you've ever done that, you probably discovered that you have HIV/AIDS, you have PTSD, you have ADHD, and you have some rare form of cancer that isn't curable, and you've got about 6 months to live. Okay, that's how easy it is to misdiagnose yourself. Now, by the same token, if you ever go into Google and you Google your relationship problems, you'll discover that you or your partner, firstly, is a narcissist, has borderline personality disorder, secondly, thirdly, might have ADHD, and you're completely incompatible to be together, right? You're going to misdiagnose yourself. And I'm not saying your partner isn't a narcissist, unless they've been diagnosed by a professional whose job it is to diagnose narcissists. They're probably not a narcissist, and your self-diagnosis is misinterpreting the signals, because narcissism looks a lot like insecurity. And if you are anxiously attached, avoidantly attached, a whole different topic, but if you're insecure about relationships, when you're feeling scared, you will act in your own self-interest to look after yourself first, because you don't trust your partner will be there. And your partner might judge you as being a narcissist because you're putting yourself first and you're not being relational. And it looks like you're being selfish and you're only interested in yourself, okay? And you don't want to talk about the relationship. That doesn't necessarily mean the person's a narcissist. That means they're terrified of you because you're so unsafe to be with, they can't be themselves. They can't open up. Now, I'm putting all the onus back on you, and I'm not blaming you. I'm not saying everything's your fault, but you cannot change anybody other than yourself. And if you try to, you will damage your relationship, okay? It'll just be futile. They'll dig their heels in further, they'll cross their arms, and they'll go, you don't accept me the way that I am, I don't feel safe with you, I'm gonna shut down even more, which will give you more evidence that they're a selfish narcissist who doesn't give a damn about you, okay? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your partner's not a narcissist. Trust me on this one. And if they are a narcissist, what the hell are you doing with them? Run for your life now. Now, yesterday, go out the door. If they're a real narcissist. You wouldn't be able to stay with a real narcissist. It would be so intolerable. You'd have to be so ridiculously insecure or have had some serious trauma in your past to even tolerate staying with a narcissist. So that's my little rant about narcissists. And the way to get past your relationship patterning, if you notice patterns that, for example, you're always attracting the situation where you get cheated in, or you're always attracting a situation where your partner appears to be a narcissist, like they're so self-absorbed, they're not interested in you, that says more about your past to me. It says more about you than it says about them. Okay? Somehow this feels familiar to you. And so the work that needs to be done, in my opinion, is healing your past. And the safest way to do that is in a relationship. It's much easier to heal our relational wounds in a relationship than it is individually. There's even research that shows that individual therapy often doesn't work to heal relational wounds, because you need to bond with the person that is helping you heal, and perhaps the best person to help you heal and to act as your therapist is your partner, if you're conscious. If you're unconscious, you'll just continue re-traumatizing each other. But the minute you wake up and notice your patterns, then you become conscious and you can't unsee them anymore. And that's when you can begin the great work of using your relationship as a crucible to transform yourself, heal your past, and together become a more powerful force in the world than either of you would be individually. And that's the work I do with the couples that I work with.
Well, I love that, because I love that you addressed the narcissist, because that is like one of those two things or questions that are always being thrown about the narcissists and the cheaters. So that was wonderful.
I'm going to make those videos. I'm going to make one on the cheater as well and the narcissist. Thank you for the idea. And I'm probably going to be crucified in the comments section. I expect to be. Because it's nice to believe your partner's a narcissist. Because then it's not your fault, it's theirs, and you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that is true. It's easy to throw the blame on someone else, right? And then you're right. If you really believe they're a narcissist, why would you even be with them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, so if you're struggling in these relationships and you feel like you want to really, well, let me just ask you this. This was something I was going to ask and I lost it. So if you're in a relationship and you feel like one partner is awakened and the other partner is not, what would be good communication to try to ask for, to step into mindfulness? Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Into like just being on autopilot, because when you're on autopilot, then you're throwing out those, you're not really thinking. You're just reacting.
Ask me the question again. I'm not sure I'm clear on the question.
Well, like it's about being equally yoked. Is it going to work if one partner is more awakened than the other? And how would you do that? Because you're saying that the time for growth is really good when you're in a relationship. So, do you see what I'm saying?
I think so. I'll talk around it and hopefully I'll land on point. You don't need to be in the same developmental level in order to make a relationship work. There's always going to be one partner who's further down the line in some areas than others, and the other partner will be further down the line than they are in other areas. One partner will be more financially savvy and the other one will be more emotionally savvy. One partner will be more into logic and problem solving and be able to make good rational decisions, and the other partner will be better at conflict. You're always going to be better and worse than each other in different areas, and that's complementary. So the two of you complement each other, which makes the both of you together, your union, create a stronger team than each of you would be individually. That's the idea here. Okay, so your partner doesn't need to be at the same level you are. They don't even need to be willing to work on the relationship yet. In fact, I would say probably 40% of my clients, I'm working with one part of a couple. The other partner has no interest in working on the relationship, and they turn the relationship dynamic around on their own. And this is because the one partner can do a lot of the work. So a relationship's a lot like a seesaw. Okay, you remember a seesaw as a kid? I'm trying to center my hands in the middle of the camera. As one partner moves, the other one is forced to move on the seesaw in response to the other one moving. So as you begin to bring a different you to your relationship, they bring a different them in response to you bringing a different you. When you stop aggressively protesting, the loss of safe connection, like many anxiously attached people do, or many people are insecure, instead of saying, hey, honey, I'm feeling really scared and I'm feeling a little lonely, I miss you. Can we go spend some time together? They'll go, so, who was that you were talking to on your phone? That's the way they would say, help, I'm feeling insecure. They come across aggressively. And so as you stop, for example, doing that, your partner will stop defending themselves and stop wanting to kind of stonewall. Stonewall is a fancy word that psychologists use to talk about one partner who refuses to engage in repair or refuses to engage in working on the relationship. They stonewall. They put up a wall and they're like, nope, you won't reach me. Okay, I'm not going to even participate. There's nothing wrong here. I'm not going to even talk about it. Often if they're stonewalling, it's because they're terrified of you. You've been so critical and triggering them and pointing fingers instead of being vulnerable, that they're afraid that every time you open your mouth, out will come another criticism of them. And so they just put up a blanket wall around their heart to protect themselves from the person that they love, you. And as you stop being threatening, so they lower the wall and they open up and start to be more engaged. Now, it doesn't always work that simply, but I would guess 80% of the time, you can do a large chunk of the work on your own, and then your partner will eventually soften and come around as they start to see the changes that you're making. And I know this because I've worked with thousands upon thousands of couples in my group online programs, where 40% of them is one half of the couple, and they all get the same results. If they go and they do the work and they go and apply what they're learning, they get the same results. The only exception is if the other partner has trauma and they're unwilling to deal with their trauma. Like they've had childhood trauma and they never want to be the kind of person who examines their feelings or who has the level of intimacy that the other partner is craving. Those people have to first have a come to Jesus moment where they realize, okay, if I don't start looking at myself and at my own emotions, I'm probably going to die of cancer or of stress 10 years sooner than I should. I think this is a wake-up call. I need to figure my life out. But until they have that kind of come to Jesus moment, they're probably going to continue stonewalling. But that's a very, 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 very small percentage of the people I ever get to talk to. The majority of stonewalling people are just scared people who have partners who are really aggressive or scary in some way, and don't think that they're being aggressive or scary in some way, because this is just how they operate. They fold their arms and they go, so who was that on the phone? Yeah? Is it a woman? Kind of thing. Or they get controlling, or they do whatever. It's called protest behavior. It's an indirect attempt to say, help, I'm scared. But it's so obnoxious to our partner that our help, I'm scared, is heard as, you're wrong, you're deficient, there's something wrong with you, you should do better, I'm unhappy, you don't listen to me, you're not enough, you're not committed enough, what's wrong with you? And our partner's like, I don't want to commit to you, So that's, I don't know if I answered your question. I forgot what the question was, but I think I did.
You did, because I was about equally yoked, what to do if one's on here, one's on there. Yeah.
You change yourself, the seesaw dynamic changes, and eventually they begin to participate or they don't. And even if they don't, and you've tried everything, you have to ask yourself, am I accepting this person? Maybe I've fallen in love and chosen to marry somebody who has no interest, never had any interest in being emotionally intimate the way I am. And I have to ask myself, can I live like that for the rest of my life? And chances are you can. And will that be okay? Can I get my intimacy needs met from my children, from my friends? And if it's not okay, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, maybe I need to leave this relationship and go find a relationship where I can get my needs met. And that's going to be difficult, of course. And if it's that important to you, you'll do it.
That makes a lot of sense. This is a lot of wisdom. I see that. I'm seeing a few. We're getting a little close to the end, so I want to get this comment. I complain too much and just realize that I'm doing it like my mother would do with my dad. I need to be more patient with my husband and aware of this bad habit, right?
No, wrong. You need to be more vulnerable. When we don't want to be vulnerable and open up, we complain. It's protest behavior, exactly what I was just saying. We get angry, we go fold our arms like, who was that on the phone? It's an indirect way of saying, help, I'm scared. What you need to say to your partner is, help, I'm scared, because that's the only thing that's honest. Everything else is a lie. The whole I'm tough, I don't need you, what are you doing looking at your phone? You talking to another woman? Kind of thing. Like all of that is just a smokescreen for help, I'm scared. The truth is, help, I'm scared. That's what you need to go to your partner and say. Help, I'm scared. I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling whatever you're feeling. And give them an opportunity to support you. There are two traits that securely attached people display. And these are the two traits that everybody who's watching this broadcast need to learn to display, because everybody's watching this broadcast is insecurely attached. How do I know? Because you wouldn't be watching it if you were securely attached. You'd be getting on with your relationship and be happily in a relationship. Okay? So, securely attached people do two things. A, they are vulnerable, meaning they're emotionally honest. That's how I define vulnerability, is emotional honesty. And B, they ask for what they need and expect that need to be met without being demanding. They also support others and expect to be able to meet their partner's needs. According to, there was a couple of studies that were done, and according to these studies, those are the only two things that separate securely attached people from people who are insecure in relationships. They are vulnerable, meaning they're emotionally honest, they're honest about their emotions, and they ask for what they need. So they go, help, I'm scared. I noticed A, B, and C happened, and you were looking at your phone, and I made up this whole drama in my head that maybe you're talking to another woman, and I'm afraid that you're cheating on me. I know, it's nothing you've done, it's just my fear. I really need a hug and some reassurance that we're okay. Vulnerability, ask for what you need. Okay? Those two simple things. If you can learn to do that, it takes something, because you've probably spent, like me, most of your life not being vulnerable and not asking for what you need, expecting your partner to read your mind and guess and have a crystal ball. So that's what I would suggest. It's not about being less critical. It's about being vulnerable, about being honest, because anything less is a lie.
That's beautiful. Yes, and that's so true. Vulnerability is a beautiful gift. And stepping into feelings without attack. Definitely. So, so I want to make sure that everyone knows how they can reach you, Bruce. So is there one last thing you want to share? And what you just shared was so powerful, those 2 points, but also how they can find you and what you have.
Sure.
Go ahead, and because we want them to be able to reach out to you.
Sure. Well, you can find me at my website, loveatfirstfight.com, loveatfirstfight.com. I have a free relationship advice kind of training course there that will teach you the basics of how to communicate, how to get through conflict, why relationships get into trouble. It's all for free. It's a fantastic 7-day video series that you can sign up for. And then I send emails a couple of times a week where I'm teaching for free. And most of the information that I teach, I give away for free in my newsletter. So if you want to do that, loveatfirstfight.com is the place to find me. I have a TED Talk on YouTube, which you can go and have a look at. Just type my name into YouTube, Bruce Muzik, M-U-Z-I-K. And I want to leave you with this thought to chew on. Anything that isn't love is just a misunderstanding. Anything that isn't love is just a misunderstanding. That is one of the foundations of the work that I do with my couples, where we unravel conflict, and almost always we get to the end and the fight just disintegrates. They don't even need to resolve it, because they realize it was all a misunderstanding. Partner A assumed partner B was trying to hurt them. Partner B assumed partner A was trying to abandon them. And when they figure out the misunderstanding, they don't even need to say, I'm sorry, half of the time. It just dissolves. It's like, oh, we don't really have an issue anymore. And so anything that isn't love is a misunderstanding. Take that into your relationship and look for the misunderstanding and watch how stuff shifts between the two of you.
You made me so excited about this conversation. And I really want to go practice these techniques and really be more vulnerable. We all do this. And I want to thank you so much, Bruce, and all you ladies. Thank you for the comments. I'm just so appreciative of this. And I just offer blessings to you all. So we'll be looking for you. Thank you so much, Bruce. Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everyone. See ya.